I went to the coffee store. It's my coffee store now because I still have my bar. But, and I can still go to my bar, I just don't drink. And I don't know if I'm going to wait the full year. I know I'm going to wait a full year not to drink. 10 months and change. Only 2 months left. And then I want to pay off my house. And I promised myself it would be when I paid off my house. But then a fortuitous event happened where I might get bought out by my on my online classes. Which the legal details of which is too boring to even talk about on this podcast. But I was like, oh, well, that might accelerate the paying off of the house in 2 months, which would coincidentally time with going a year without the booze. And but I'm not worrying about it. If the deal doesn't go through and I just have to wait till next year to pay off my house, so be it. I don't need the money. It's a great position to be in. Let me tell you how great it is to be a minimalist and not need the money. Where it's like, that deal is not satisfactory. It's like Trump. The deal's not satisfactory to me. That's not huge enough. I just don't. It's like, well, I could go my way. Meh. Anyway. So I can't drink at least, at minimum, for the next 2 months. According to my own standards and principles. So I go to my coffee store, and that's where I go, and I do that. That's the first stop. Wake up in the bed, do the phone thing. If there's any coffee left over, if the GF ever left me any. She doesn't. And I'm like, I gotta walk. Gotta walk down to my coffee shop. And I've noticed this multiple times, but today was the one where, again, it crystallized the thought in the brain because it wasn't the kids, it was the adults. It was the adults this time. I'm standing in line to get my coffee. And I look behind me, and there's some people my age, maybe younger. And they just look and smell and they carry the air of being teachers. They think they all had apples. That was, I guess, one of the first hints. I don't know what gave it away. I'm just like, they look like teachers. They're all smiley and happy. And I looked, and they had books and print-offs. And they were there to do work. And they were just chit-chatting. I wasn't even listening to what they were saying. But I had to steal a look. I had to steal a glance at what was on their computer screens or what these print-offs were. And I see on one guy or gal's computer screen, it's kind of like a spreadsheet, and it says goals, objectives, separate columns. Separate columns. I'm no commander of the English language, but I would have thought goals and objectives would be the same thing, and you just pick one or the other. No, they had separate columns. And then the third column was maybe progress or something. I couldn't make it out because I didn't want to look like I was spying. Then I look on the table and there's reams. Reams with these spiral spine kind of, they weren't it wasn't fun reading. And then I kind of see it, it's like training manuals, and I kind of like, these are probably teachers. Beautiful day out. School's out. I presume for these guys anyway. And what they're doing is what? Going over their lesson plans? What I couldn't get was something as simple as teaching. Which, again, I'm going to say it not because I hate teachers. I'm saying it because it's true, and I hate teachers. It's just convenient to tell the truth and hurt people that deserve to be hurt. Their feelings, anyway. It's not a real job. It isn't. And I was just amazed. I was agape, like looking at like how much material. There were hundreds. This stack was at least, the better part of a foot thick. Multiple print-offs, multiple spiral corded manuals. I think they're instruction manuals. And these mindless spreadsheets. Another thing that tipped me off, there was no numbers. No numbers on the spreadsheet, all words. I don't trust a ton of words and no numbers because it's not concrete. It's not finite. It's not formulaic. There's no ultimate mathematical truth or truths you are trying to unearth or discover. And so, as is typically teaching the softer, I can't call them sciences, the softer, fabricated faux studies that the liberal arts of the humanities have become, the non-finite, the non-mathematical, quote, studies, quote, big air quotes, sciences. It could just get lost. It could be anything. It could be anything you want. And so you take something as simple as teaching, which maybe takes a week or two seminar to figure out, here's how you do it. If you're too stupid to set up a lesson plan. If you're too stupid to figure out naturally how, because Lord Almighty knows that you sitting in school, K through college, you didn't know how teaching worked. If you couldn't reverse engineer that, okay, here's a 2-week seminar for the really stupid people. Teachers. But there they were, beautiful day, at the coffee store, chit-chatting. I don't know why they were having fun, because it looked like mind-numbing work. And they were going through this almost foot thick of manuals, boring spreadsheets. For what? For what reason? What the hell are you people doing? What is it that you do that has no, if you had protractors, graphing calculators, I looked on someone's computer screen, I saw code. All right, then I'm like, oh, yeah, you do need that thick book of reference material. You do need, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're doing something. I saw formulas, algorithms, blueprints. No, I didn't see that. I just saw words. And classical teacher, soft, faux, fabricated science, you guys make it seem like it's a profession. You make it seem like this is some kind of real thing you're doing. Well, we have studies and we have a diagram, we have a chart. All the management books. Well, you see the 5 forces and the 3 cycles. All these charts and diagrams, none of which you remember, none of which are consistent or the same across writers of different textbooks. No consistency, none of that. Just pull it out of your ass, fresh with the gleaming shine off of the feces that just came out. Hey, here's something new that I just pulled out of my rear in grad school. It was handed down to us by the gods who have their doctorates in education that sit on an education board at the state. Well, see, we're professional teachers. We're getting our certification. We're getting our masters. But ultimately, what are you studying? Doesn't it bore you? Doesn't your brain start to atrophy? I know, education majors, not much of a brain to atrophy left, just a brain stem. All good feels is we're just so good. We care about the children, we're just so good. I care about the children. Did you read that article about the global warming? I shared it with my students because we're just so good. We care so much about the children. That's it. That's all your gimmick is. That's all your game is. What should we tell them? Okay, that's what we'll tell them. There's no unlocking the secrets of the universe, bending the will of the laws of physics to the benefit of humankind. You may hate Elon Musk because of his politics and he receives a government subsidiary, but at least he's producing something of physical value. I mean, there are the occasional leftists out there that do good. I understand that. But these teachers, I can't even call them sheep. I was just amazed at how there was so much material, but yet nothing to study. So much material, so much bunk, so much pablum, derived, created from, nothing, out of thin air, simple concepts, common sense. And there's this meeting, there's at least 7 of them with their laptops, and they're all that. The other thing I couldn't understand is, how could you be happy? Are you guys that sold into this academian world of education in your, quote, cause, that you all fail at doing, by the way? Don't know if you notice the millennial graduates aren't doing too well. But doesn't it get boring? Doesn't your brain hurt after a while because none of it is making sense, or it's just taking just one font, one half a bit of data and extrapolating 800 pages of gunk out of it? Or is that the speed your brain operates at? That's about the right pace. You can only get one concept over every 800 pages of manual. Second thing, now this was the latest thing I noticed. This is what crystallized when I saw adults doing it. What I've noticed time in and time out sitting at the coffee shop, now of course the season is over, is there's obviously younger kids, college age kid, not under 18, but college age, they're in college. And once again, they're studying, and I kind of peer over to see if I could see any numbers. Do you have a graphic calculator? Are you programming code? Are you doing something that warrants that 600-page, 5-pound book that you got sitting there? No, it's philosophy, English. And What gets me is how they would be highlighting and taking notes, and they're all so serious. They're just so serious. I'm gonna read philosophy. I'm gonna read women's studies. And they're just taking it so seriously, and they're writing and they're reading and they're taking notes, and then they have their laptop out and they're typing and they're reading and pondering, even scratching their beard that they don't have because they're women, and they're like, oh yes, I see. Yes, why I do believe in ethno-nationalism. There's a problem with that with those white people. I gotta take some notes. To what point and purpose? What is the end? Do not bells and alarms, not even bells and alarms. Don't you get tired? Don't you fall asleep? Doesn't your brain kind of say, hey, this is, look, boredom is your brain saying we are wasting our time. Like when you all fell asleep in school, be it college or K through 12, that was your brain saying this has nothing of value. Your brain was making a subconscious judgment. This has nothing of value. We're going nowhere fast. We might as well store up our energy reserves and take a nap. It's not that you weren't paying attention or you were a bad student. Your teacher sucked, the material was boring, or maybe the material was interesting, they just spread it way too thin and amortized over way too many years and semesters. But not college students, not liberal arts. They just, oh my God, we're so serious, we're just studying, oh my God, we're so serious. You see, I'm reading this book. This is critical thinking 1, then I take critical thinking 2, and I take critical thinking 3. And then after a year and a half of critical thinking classes, then maybe I could critically think. And all I saw as an economist was a waste of time. How many hours and days, years, forget decades, millennia, when we factor in that there's millions of students, how much time do we waste in the United States and the Western world in general making these kids study this worthless crap? And a lot of them volunteer to not only study, but specialize and therefore major in and sometimes get advanced degrees in worthless crap. How many eons are wasted? And what is the opportunity cost of that? What if instead of it wasn't predominantly girls, but disproportionately it was, but these girls would just sit and read, and I don't want to violate anyone's private, personal space, but I looked just to say, what are you studying? And I wanted to say that, what are you studying? You're wasting your time. Knock it off. There's nothing to learn here. And that's the real tragedy, is how much just youth, because it is youth, and money, but let's just focus on it, just how much youth is wasted on these fake studies that have no practical application in the real world and have no benefit. None. No benefit whatsoever. Outside of academia and self-study. None of it. None of it. What's even more tragic is how it warps then and misleads you. Like it's programming your brain wrong, so when you're finally dumped out in the real world, you're completely dysfunctional. Not only do you offer nothing of value to people or society, you are so screwed up in the head relative to how the real world works because you got so skewed, such an aberrant upbringing and education in your education, that it causes like a psychological pain, this confusion as to why things aren't going your way. And then you have to deprogram yourself and then reprogram yourself so that maybe by the time you're 32, 33, now you know how the real world works. That's where leftist or not, the politics or not, I feel pity and sadness for these kids, what we do to them, forcing them to study, not just this pointless stuff, and I don't even want, it's not damaging, but it really ruins your life. It really misleads you into, I hate to use the word wrong thinking because I don't want to sound like a tyrant, but you are misinformed, which is worse than being uninformed. That's the best way to put it. You are misinformed. Uninformed is just like you still got a blank slate. There's no data on the hard drive. There's just nothing there. Misinformed, it's like having a virus. You got to get that stuff off of your hard drive, and then you can put stuff on it again. And that takes time. Time you young people just don't have. So not only are you wasting your time studying, imagine how sad, it's a real tragedy. I almost get depressed about it at times. Think about all the time. Okay, let's try it a different way. Think about everything you didn't remember that they tried to teach you in school. Okay? What percent is that? All right, now realize That's the percentage of your childhood and youth that was wasted. Remember dangling participles? Remember deconstructing and outlining a sentence? Do you remember that? All that? Do you remember the difference between discrete and finite math? I sure as heck don't. Do you remember all the history and the political, well, it wasn't global warming, it was global cooling and the rainforest. Do you remember all that? Hey, how about all that mandatory foreign languages you were supposed to take? How much of that do you remember? It was wasted time. What's worse is when you have to go and study in college, pay for it, but just sit there. Well, you could be out having fun, living life, working, making money. Wasting your finite life studying something like is stupid and ultimately is pointless. Is Porter's 5 forces models, or goals and objectives, not or, goals and objectives, separate, two things. Making a science where there's no science to be had, trying to put order where there is none. Taking something as simple as educating kids, education, how to speak, how to organize your thoughts, how to put together a lesson plan, and making people waste 8 years in college on that? Could you imagine some of these theses that are written that are just like all the basic kind of key functional? Now, there's some tricks of the trade in education. Yeah, you can learn this and that here. But ultimately, it's not, there's no way you could ever even get a year's worth of data or information or classroom material about how to be a teacher. Can you imagine doing 8 years and then writing a 50-page thesis paper? Why? Why? What are you doing? And the opportunity cost for what your life could have been. Imagine if you just got rid of this. It's like an engine that's only 20% efficient. Like, what if you got rid of the 80% of fat? What if you got rid of that 80% inefficiency? What could you have done and accomplished and achieved otherwise? You just got rid of all these pointless hurdles and hoops to jump through that were put in your face by academia, big education, the leftists, the liberals, the socialists, the teachers' unions. Well, he can learn that in 5 minutes. Don't tell him that. We need to make that last 3 months. How are summer school teachers supposed to get employed? Oh, and all these poor kids, special ed. Whether these kids actually have a problem or not, because it was just made up so we could get more special ed money. Can you imagine these poor teachers and these poor kids dealing with one another? You're only there to keep people employed, so that you're not there to educate these kids. You don't really care about special education. And keep in mind, special education really is a money-making operation for a teacher. I'm not even joking, because I did special ed when I used to substitute teach, and you're basically a taxpayer-financed program to watch over mentally retarded children. Some are actually just normal kids that are problem students. I'll grant you that. Some are just really smart, and they should have been homeschooled or gone to private school or just get out there. They move way too fast for the public schools. But I'd say a good 40 to 50%, the plurality of the students in special ed, are basically the retarded children of parents who didn't think far enough ahead, didn't plan for the contingency their child might be retarded, weren't smart enough to abort it once they found out it might have had alcohol syndrome, or hey, we can't afford a retarded child or whatever, and now they dump it off in the state. And they call it education when it really is more, what would we call it, hospice care? Or is hospice care for when you're dying? It's medical care that you're getting. You are watching over mentally retarded individuals. No offense to the mentally retarded kids. They're innocent in this regard. But that's what it is. But don't tell me I need my master's in special education. No, you want to know what I did? I remember you don't believe me? Go find somebody that works in special education. I remember Richfield High School. You guys want to come after me? Please do. I'll expose you guys. They say, hey, do you do special ed? And I was hungry for money. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I go in. They give me a glove. What the hell is this glove for? And my job was to prevent a child, again, nothing wrong with this kid, unfortunately just not born with enough brain material, to prevent himself from chewing on his own lips and his own tongue. I was to put my finger inside his cheek and pull his cheek away from his mouth to prevent him from chewing on himself. That's special ed. And you're telling me that, I could only be a substitute teacher with a bachelor's degree. You had to have a bachelor's degree. You needed a bachelor's degree to do that part-time. But we couldn't have you as a full-timer. Oh, no, you can't be an official special ed teacher. No, you need a certificate. You need a license on top of a bachelor's, preferably a master's degree. How the hell do you make 6 years of college education out of that? And then, to a large extent, I'm just merely using education and these teachers I saw today as a vehicle to make a larger point. How do you guys willingly put yourself through the liberal arts when there just isn't that much material? Look, I have learned, I'm not joking. I know more than probably most Russian history majors. You want to know why? Because I listened to the Russian Rulers History podcast. I binged on the thing. It was great. 200 plus episodes going from Novgorod all the way up to Putin. I learned so much, and so much faster and quicker. Because you guys, if you want to learn about Russian history, you'd have to take all these classes that had nothing to do with Russian history. Fill in these requirements. You need some classes from Group A, and you need some classes from Group B. You can't just study Russian history to become an expert and master in it. You must study all this other crap, because otherwise you're not well-rounded. BS? For a fraction of the time, it was enjoyable. I just listened to podcasts. The majority of it was taken in running and hiking. And road tripping. And I didn't pay $300 a credit to learn any of this. It was enjoyable. It was really sad and tragic how, especially the teachers with their structured, organized, faux science of, quote, education, how you teachers ruin true and genuine education. Like, I hated reading. And to this day, I really don't like reading. I will, however, listen to knowledge. I will listen to entertainment. The problem is that teachers make reading such a chore, and they recommend such boring crap to little kids that reading gets tainted. You don't realize that reading is about passing on knowledge and wisdom and intellectual stimulation, and sometimes humor and entertainment. Nixon's Guide to the Multiverse being a perfect example of literature that is funny and entertaining and worth reading. But now, thank God, with podcasts, you can listen to this stuff. You don't actually sit there with a book no more. And then I realized, holy cow, there's this wealth of stimulation, entertainment, engaging stuff out there that I didn't know. That's how there was books out there. But the teachers never did, because they ruined it. They ruined it with the pablum and taking something that could be taught in 5 minutes and making a 5-hour lesson plan out of it. And that's the liberal arts. Just because the only place liberal arts majors can get employed is to become liberal arts teachers. And you can increase the amount of employment if you spread it thin. Don't give them the nuggets of wisdom. Don't ever dare try to teach something efficiently. For example, my class, the analysis evaluation of stocks. That right there is about 6 college courses. Taught in a week or 6 weeks. 2 lessons a week. Is it 6? Yeah, 12. It goes 6 weeks. Yeah. Just search it. Try me. Take my class, the analysis evaluation of stocks. You can search it on the internet. It's offered online. You can take it anywhere, wherever it's cheapest. You got to pay for it. But just as an example, if you're willing to fork over about $89 to $100 or whatever it costs, right? You take that class and you tell me that you didn't get more out of that one class than you did semesters of college. You'll learn more about accounting, finance, stock valuation, economics in those short 6 months. Two classes a week. I mean, maybe what? Maybe 3 hours a week. So we're talking 18 hours total, maybe, in studying time and everything. You tell me you didn't learn more than that than you did like 7 or 8 college classes on separate but spread out so thin. It was gravy thin. You could just poke your finger right through it in college classes. It's not because I'm smart or a genius. It's because I don't have the patience or the time to stretch it out just to milk you for more money. I have more important things to do in life. And that's the liberal arts. You could go down to your local library, and you don't even have to do that. You could just go to the internet and download all the podcasts on whatever genre of liberal arts you'd like to study. And you will become a more educated, more masterful, and infinitely richer liberal arts master. I don't mean that as a master's degree, a master of a particular field of the liberal arts, because you just took it in faster, quicker, and more efficiently. You didn't have to drive down, park, pay for parking, walk to this building, sit there 15 minutes in between your other maybe I'll stand in line and get a taco. Then I go to this and then have them pack it full of fluff and pablum and BS that you don't need to. Maybe somewhere in there might be a nugget, but you're so falling asleep, you don't know what the nuggets or what's important because you have no context. Your brain falls asleep like it did in the 9th grade. But then there's that kid who just read Socrates. I know this may shock some of you liberal arts people. You can go to this place called the library, and you can read books by Socrates and Plato. You don't have to pay some washed up, ponytailed wearing, receding hairline baby boomer bleep $200 of credit to have him tell you how to read Plato's and Socrates. You can just read it. And you don't need him to interpret what Plato's and Socrates meant, because Plato and Socrates wrote what they meant. And you can get it for free. For free. And here's the key thing, kiddies, with the exact same employment prospects as if you had a doctorate in philosophy. Oh, I'm sorry, maybe you can't become an adjunct professor because you don't have a doctorate. You just read all the philosophical works of the Greeks. But you see, you don't have this piece of paper, so you can't teach people. You don't have a piece of paper like I did, because I am SMRT. That's a Simpsons joke. Don't say, it's smart, S-M-A-R-T. I know that, look it up. So it's Worthless Degree Awareness Month. Right? I want to ask you kids, forget the teachers, forget the adults, they're too late. It's too late. For you high school and college age kids that are sitting there at the library, at home, at the coffee store, wherever it is, you're sitting there and you're studying this stuff. Ask yourself, what are you learning? What are you really studying? What is the point and purpose of this? Or are you wasting precious moments of your youth you just don't have too much of? You don't have enough of it. Learning things you're never going to use, going to be ultimately pointless and worthless, have nothing to do with your discipline or study. And ask yourself if it's worth it. Because it's got to be torture, man, to sit there and study something that has nothing to do with your degree. Is it going to help you get employed? Or heaven forbid, it has everything to do with your degree and still won't help you get employed. Only to forget all of it, and ultimately, the reason you forget it because it has no bearing or use in the real world. Again, I must have driven, I thought they were like, well, this must be an important chart. There's a chart. Charts are important, and here I am in a management class. Like, all these flow charts and diagrams, can't remember a single one, because it has no real world bearing in the bleeping real world. We could stop this 2017. We could stop it. You just raise awareness. I hate to use that term. You tell people about Worthless Degree Awareness Month. You get them the book Worthless. If you don't know what, I know a huge hurdle is, well, I don't know what to do. I mean, they told me I got to go to college. My parents, I have to go to college, otherwise they're going to kick me out. What do I do? Get the book Reconnaissance, man. That's for you guys who say, well, I don't know what I want to study. If you don't know what to study, then don't go. What's your plan B? It's Reconnaissance, man. Get the book, read it. But please, the next time you find yourself or a friend of yours or somebody you care about, relative or not, child or not, nephew or not, just somebody you care about, this is apolitical. This is going to help out leftists more than it is rightists, even though I'm an evil right-wing libertarian, white, male, straight, cisgendered. Well, the only thing I'm not is Christian, which would irk everybody a little bit more, but I'm not. And the whole point being, this helps out everybody. If anything, it disproportionately helps out people who lean to the left because they're the ones that predominantly go and major in worthless stuff. And I'm trying to tell you, young kids, high school or college age, even those of you who happen to be younger adults who are like, maybe should I go back to college? Should I get your master's? Please, don't waste your time. Really critically think about this. Stop and ask yourself, is this worth my time wasting my life to get some piece of paper that won't result in further employment? Do I really want to go and spend 6 years in college so I could get a master's degree in education learning this crap that ain't going to help nobody? Oh, but hey, here's almost a foot thick of instruction manuals handed down by the state of Minnesota's education department? You guys are going to die. You will die. I cannot emphasize enough. You are going to die, and it's coming way too quickly. Sit and ponder how old you are now. Most of you are in your 20s or so, and realize you're already a third dead. Now, do you want to F around and piss it away like you have the first third of your life? Or do you want to maybe have some practicality and use in your life? And for those of you who are in your 30s and 40s thinking, well, I should go get my master's. Kind of high voice there because women disproportionately go and get masters in worthless fields. All right? You are half dead. Half dead. Do you still have student loans? You want to go sit and study some more? You've only been in school since you were 5 back in 1981. Seriously, think about this. And seriously, get the book Worthless. Get the other book, Reconnaissance Man, and share this. Share this with people you care about so you prevent them from ruining their lives. All right, let's make Worthless Degree Awareness Month count. And let's put all these scam schools out of business by 2018, all right? No enrollment for liberal arts and humanities college in 2018. None. The young, you want to talk about, education, teachers all care about the children, huh? Ed, do you care about them as much as I do? Because I sure as heck don't want them having your employment prospects where they're sitting there on a beautiful summer day reading through a foot-thick page of manuals. I want them to go and be actually successful and happy in life and not have, I want their brains to be stimulated, engaged, enriched, so that when they're 80 years old, they're not, why did I waste those summers in the coffee shop? Can't even remember anything interesting or engaging. You're not going to remember Porter's 5 forces models. You're not going to remember the difference between goals and objectives. And you sure as heck are not going to miss that Excel spreadsheet that you had up. It's just too short otherwise, guys. All right, that's it. You guys tune into the Clary Podcast. What else we got? We got all my books on Amazon. We got my blog, CaptainCapitalism.blogspot.com. And what else? We did the Clary Asshole Consulting. Sorry, AssholeConsulting.com. All right, we'll see you guys later. Toodles.